react to hearing something like this? Within 9 months, our country will experience total economic collapse. The unemployment rate will triple, and we'll be in a greatest depression. Probably dismiss it as crazy talk, except the person who is saying these things is far from crazy.
It would be easy to dismiss Gerald Celente as a nut. Call him a nut. Far from it. He's been featured by many major newspapers and TV networks, consulted major corporations, and he's accurately forecasted everything from the stock market crash of 1987 to the bursting real estate bubble, the panic of '08, as he calls it.
But we just look at the facts. And again, we're not Johnny-come-latelys on this. We've been predicting this. You know, I've been in business since 1980. I've written books. We have the Trends Journal. Our track record is there for everyone to look at.
An economist by trade, Celente has carved out a niche as a top-notch trends forecaster. We went to visit him at his office in upstate New York to talk about the economy. After studying and forecasting trends for nearly 30 years, Celente is now saying the U.S. economy will totally collapse. The bailouts, the stimulus plans, he says they won't work. They're only delaying the inevitable. Economic Armageddon.
You can't print money based on nothing. It's not even Economics 101. It's economics for dummies.
Celente says we will see worse than the Great Depression for several reasons. In the 1930s, most people did not own homes, have home equity loans, or credit cards. As a nation, we were the world's manufacturing engine. The nation had a trade and budget surplus, not trillions of dollars of debt.
So we're going into the greatest depression, and it's going to be hard.
How ugly? Massive unemployment, bank holidays, ghost malls, civil unrest, food riots, and a tax revolution by 2012.
2 years. There is a timeline. That's all you've got. There's no more left. You do something in 2 years or you've had it.
We're saying 2012 because we're looking at that date as a time when we believe there's going to be a new third-party system. There's going to be a time when all good men finally realize that now is the time to come to the aid of the country. So we're seeing that as the great...
Because I have been told by the elite that we have 2 years. And they said at the end of 2 years you will be so poor. And they have this plan. Inflation, devaluation of the dollar, all of these things. He said within 2 years' time you'll be so poor you will not have the ability to rise up against the elite.
It may be earlier, it may be a little later.
Celente may be unsure about the exact time for the tax revolution, but he is certain about the impending collapse of our economy.
In November of '08, we took out the domain name, the collapse of '09.
Do you feel more sure about this than anything you've ever forecasted?
Yes. As sure as our most assured forecast. Absolutely.
If you want to have a meeting somewhere, you want to go to a rally, you won't have the money to buy the airline ticket. You won't be able to do the things you want because they will have made you that poor.
There is an RFID chip implant that over 2 million people now have. And it is implanted in one or two places. Most people have it implanted right between the thumb and the pointing finger in this area here. But you can also see where it's implanted here. It's the size of a piece of rice. Information, all this information about your history, your medical history, your Social Security card, all of that can be put very quickly on this chip. Now, I want to tell you a story that's a little hairy. I want you to prepare yourself for this because this is a little bit hairy. A friend of mine flew on a plane with a man who is a doctor who is on the United States Medical Board. There's a board for the whole United States, the Medical Association. And he was flying from Pennsylvania, and I'm careful when I preach because what they will do is try to find out the flight, who the preacher was, and that's why I don't give names, because you can't believe, folks, what we've had to deal with. That's why I'm vague sometimes. The doctor is talking to the preacher, not knowing he's a preacher, and he says, I'm going to Orlando to meet with 3,000 doctors about the new chip. He said, what new chip? And he said, well, and he explained this right here. And he said, he talked about there's a lithium battery. He said, but we've already tested it in people, and some blood types would reject it. Wonderful. It's funny. Some blood types would reject it. He said, but we think we've got it perfected now. He said, well, what's it for? They said, right under the hair lining of the forehead or in the right hand. The doctor told the preacher, the government, the administration right now, and by the way, Obama didn't work on this. This has been worked on for years. But the administration wants this chip completed at the end of this year. And by 2012, every American, this is the doctor speaking, every American native-born must have this implant for security reasons. And it will have all your medical information, all your Social Security information.
Shade, Diana, what happens if you're in a bad accident and can't communicate with emergency workers and doctors? New microchip technology now makes it possible for the emergency room staff to find out about your medical history at the touch of a computer key. Harvard Dr. John Halofka says this radio frequency identification chip may solve that problem. He had it implanted in his right upper arm. A scanner reads an identification number. Those 16 digits are then entered into a secure website where his medical history is stored. EMT worker Brian Orsatti says the chip could help emergency workers.
It's a radio frequency identification, or RFID tag. RFID has now won Food and Drug Administration approval for use in humans.
RFID technology is very attractive to emergency departments. It enables people to quickly identify not only who the person is, but what their medical history is. And what would normally take hours sometimes can take a matter of minutes.
There's a company out of Florida that's offering a free microchip implant for Alzheimer's patients. It's to help emergency officials identify people who just really can't remember who they are anymore.
Not a vulnerable person that is not always able to define what's wrong with them. And when you go into an emergency room, efficiency and effectiveness is the most important way of getting good treatment.
Within 2 years' time, it's all over. According to their timetable, if they meet their timetable, we've got 2 years, or we will have signed the warrant of slavery for our children and our grandchildren and our great-great-grandchildren. And they know they have it made, they think they have it in the bag, and they believe that they've been able to remove the morals and the God and the principles of life that have made America great to the point that they now can fulfill that total control program.